We're back. It's been a couple months, literally 2 months since our last discussion in the Perfect Movie Quest amongst us movie men. We were able to wrangle Drew, Justin, and Chase for tonight's discussion. I think Brownie's going to show up a little bit later too. We'll see. But tonight, the nomination is actually from Drew. He nominated The Italian Job, 2003's The Italian Job, movie beloved by all of our generation. Great movie to watch on a date, in a group, alone. So I'm excited to hear Drew make the case for perfection on this one. I'm excited to engage in a conversation. I have some holes to poke as well, but we will start off with Drew just laying the case, making the case, laying the groundwork. Gosh, I'm excited.
Yeah. So just as we usually do, per usual, per usual, I'll give you my first take on my first experience with this movie, and it was actually with Bo. I believe you were the first one to show it to me. You went and saw it in theaters, and then you were like, "This is a great movie. You should see it." Saw it, loved it, and then we watched it periodically every few months for the rest of our childhood. So when we were talking about another perfect movie, I figured this one reaches the top because it checks all the boxes. So I'm just gonna do a quick rapid fire why I think it's a perfect movie. I made some notes, and just so you know, last night I watched it, and I let my 13-year-old watch it with me, and it solidified it even more. I was like, there's a little bit of edginess, a little bit of sexual humor in there, but I have to remember that when I was 13, it just went right over my head, and so I don't think she got it, but at the end of it, I was like, "What'd you think?" And she was like, "That was an awesome movie." And so at least she's 12, at least my 12-year-old agreed with it. And so here we go. Here's just some quick, and I've got these up, so you guys can have me repeat them, or you can fight them individually if you'd like. But first things first is, from start to finish, it was fast paced. It kept your attention. Not once did I feel bored or lost or wanted the story to progress. Start to finish, just banger, and it just kept your attention the entire way. It's super easy to follow. There are some heist movies, ocean movies, that it's like a labyrinth to try and figure out, and then when you think you figure it out, they think that they're getting you, and they got the audience, and they're like, "Well, you knew that I knew that you knew that they knew that I knew." And you're like, "Okay, what are we doing here?" None of that bull crap. It was easy to follow. Heist, revenge, boom, we're getting it. Obviously, amazing cast with Mark Wahlberg leading the gang. And then the rest of them, they all had really good performances. I was watching and trying to pick it apart, and for 2003, for what they were in 2003, perfection. They did what I would want them to do as those characters. It has iconic moments that anybody who has seen the movie, you can call back to them, and they will be able to. You won't even have to say what movie. Mini Coopers. Oh yeah, the Mini Cooper chase scene. Everybody who's seen this movie is like, "Oh, Italian Job." I see a Mini Cooper, I immediately think Italian Job. They reshaped the brand Mini Cooper, and I feel like when a movie does something like that, that's something to tip your hat to. Let's see. It had It was a great mixture of action, humor, and style without overcomplicating things. It was just the right amount of everything in one dish. The heist elements were clever, but not too clever that you get lost in the sauce. This was clever. You knew what was happening, but they had a gotcha moment where it's like, "All right, you're gonna have to dress up. Yeah, I've got a date," And so, they're having a party. Ain't nobody blowing up gates tonight, boys. We got it. So it was fun. It was fun to have to pivot with them. And you're like, they built up the suspense, and then they took a left when you were expecting a right. It's this might be one of the bigger ones, is it's a perfect revenge story. Like the get even storyline, even though it's a little predictable, it doesn't go out of style when done right. And I think Italian Job did it right. The pacing, I think I already said that. Pacing, it built tension without ever feeling slow, even when the heist was cut off and you're like, oh, back to square one. You didn't feel like it dragged the story down. There was I wanted to talk about the cinematography, not like the geographical cinematography, but just the way that they filmed things. I felt was, again, for 2003, I felt like it was really fun and really engaging. Keep like just where the camera was in the car with you, or the way that they filmed the cars doing the whether it be the cars or when Napster was on on his computer, and like he had that 2003, I don't know what program that was, but he could find schematics of anything with that program. Anyway, it's just stylish. It was a certain style, and I think it worked really well. And then last but not least, it was rewatchable. I feel like everybody who's seen the movie, I don't know if I've ever heard anybody say, no, I don't want to watch Italian Job. I've heard people say, oh, I just watched Italian Job, so let's watch something else. But I don't think I've ever heard anybody like put up a fuss not to watch Italian Job. It's just solid, rounded storyline from start to finish. And that is why, oh wait, I've got one more. There was a little bit of campiness and a little bit of cheesiness, but it was like not overbearing, and it was like it was calculated and it worked. For I'm trying to think of a good example. It's like when Mark Wahlberg and Charlie Theron are sitting next to each other, and she's like shaking after she talked with I'm blanking on his name, Edward Norton's character. Steve. And Steve, thank you. And she said something like, my hands are cold, or my hands are shaking. And he's like, oh, we got to protect those. Like, those are important. And it was a little cheesy and a little campy, but it like really fit in that moment for some reason. Like it didn't make me go, oh, geez, like, why did you even put that in? What a crappy line to put in. Like, it was cheesy and it was flirty, but it worked. And like, I'm not just because the writing worked. It worked because the actors, like, they both kind of knew it was campy, even in that moment, and they kind of played out.
I would like to plug in, like, her nervousness throughout that was really well acted, because you know that she's acting, but it doesn't seem like she's acting there because her hands are shaking. Like, she feels, and you can feel her anxiety like building. And after it's over, she's like, I was just in the presence of my dad's murderer. Like, how would you feel? And him kind of cutting through those, like, oh, your hands are shaking, you gotta protect those. It really did fit that moment. I just wanted to plug, because I was going to mention that scene. Yeah. But since you already brought it up, that was a very good scene.
Right. What they did really well is they didn't sidestep the importance of what that relationship was with Steve killing her dad. They didn't sidestep. Like, they gave you 2 or 3 good moments where she had to like come to grips with it herself, and you could see it on her face where she's like, I have to do what? No, like, no way. All right, like, this is for revenge, and so I'll do what I have to do. And I feel like it could have in 2026 that would have gone a completely different way, I feel like, but they did it right, and they did it the way that I enjoyed it. And in 2003, that gave it a life, a long life to go back to.
Chase, what would you add to Drew's assessment or take away based on the perfection or lack thereof of this movie, in your opinion?
Yeah, so one note I wanted to make was in my marketing classes, we actually studied the Mini Cooper marketing strategy like pretty hard. And because Mini Cooper was not a really well-known brand in the US. And so as they were trying to break in right around that time, the 2002, 2003, 2004 timeframe, they did. They're the literal textbook example of guerrilla marketing, and so they used every non-traditional form of marketing to bring awareness to the Mini Cooper brand. And so you would have like Mini Coopers parked inside of malls in like cages. They'd put a Mini Cooper on top of like a Suburban, right? Like they really played into how small of a car it was. And one of the things that they did is they used their marketing, gimmicks or whatever to get into the Italian Job as a huge marketing plug. And think about the number. I mean, I know at least my brothers and I, like, we all walked out of that movie going, I want a Mini Cooper. Like, that is a sick car. And every time I see one on the street, that's what I think of. I think of the Italian Job. So, they knocked it out of the park with marketing. Okay, so here's I watched it last night as well, and the one thing that just it pulled me out like immediately, and maybe this is just me getting a little bit more cynical in my advanced years, is helicopter chase scenes. Man, like, they're so unbelievable because with the exception of, I would say, Mission Impossible 1, where the bad guy was flying the helicopter, because every other time there's a helicopter chase scene, the bad guy or whatever is the passenger in the helicopter. And I just went, you're telling me that Edward Norton got this guy to violate however many of federal laws, chasing him down like at street level, flying into tunnels, going into garages. Like, I'm like, there's no way. And then, of course, what happens is they crash, and then the pilot just sits there to get arrested or whatever. And I'm just like, this is. Anyways, it immediately pulled me out where it looks like Edward Norton's flying the thing, but all he's doing is he's sitting up close to the glass, like his eyes are what's chasing. Anyways, I was like, okay, that's dumb. But then, man, yeah, for me, it was, what was it? This was like one of the first really big Jason Statham movies, right? He had done Transporter, I think, the year before, but like this solidified him as like the driver guy, right? Anyways, yeah, it was such a delightful movie to sit down and watch. As Drew mentioned, like, the pacing was good. It wasn't really complicated. It was yeah. I mean, retrospect to 23 years later, some of the stuff with like Seth Green's character, I'm like, okay, that's not how hacking works. Like, he's like, I took over the cameras, and now I can tell you with exactness how many, point whatever inches off the ground the car. I'm like, they barely have that technology today. And
yeah, it was programming, dude. Didn't you hear what I said? He's got a program.
I know.
They set all reality by giving him his own special program that could do all those things.
That could do it. I know. Again, he was able to do everything, whereas like I've worked with programmers. I know nothing works quickly. You
want to know what?
Anyway.
One thing that like threw me off. Well, first of all, the helicopter scene, I've got no rebuttal against it, because while it was happening, like when they would cut them off in the Mini Cooper and they would lock eyes, my immediate thought was, what are you going to do? Like, you're in a helicopter and he's in a car. Now what? Oh no, you guys see each other face to face. Like, the closest we got was the helicopter turning and going, and like the blades hitting the side of the car. But
yeah.
The second thing was, they were so stoked about $27 million. And I was like, if that was 2026, they would have to say $260 million in order to get the same kind of excitement, which is so bizarre, because that's obviously a massive amount of money. But like, just
like 19 people or whatever.
23 years, $27 million seems so minuscule compared to what, people are heisting for nowadays in movies.
Inflation, man, it catches all of us, including
well, it was 35 million at the beginning, and then 27 million after he sold the bars.
Right. Yeah. All right. I've heard enough.
Hold on. I have one last point. I feel like the conclusion with Edward Norton's character was also kind of, it fell flat, right? Like the guy comes and he's like, listen, whatever he goes, yeah, no imagination. And then the Ukrainian comes and right, like, and like Edward Norton's character like faints from like the fear of what's about to happen. I'm just like, kill him, or like they drug that out, like what they were gonna do to him, and him trying to rebuttal, like, I'll give you double what he's paying, and right, all that stuff. They drugged that out, I think, a little too much. Where
They should have
like,
just gagged him. Yeah.
yeah, like knock
We'll
him
take
out,
care of
kill him, or not have that be the last 4.5 minutes of the movie of him negotiating for his life, and so everybody can get their little jab in of, yeah, he has no imagination. Oh, you killed my cousin and now I'm gonna get revenge. And well, you're not gonna kill me. No, I'm gonna introduce you to my tools. And like it went on too long, where I'm like, okay, just like wrap it up. Let's go. Anyways.
All right, where do I even begin with you guys? Let's go from the end and work ourselves back, shall we? That's just a personal taste, Chase, because my taste, I liked it. I don't like Mission Impossible 3 for me had a famously unsatisfying ending. Like the amount of evil that oh, come on, what's that actor's name? The blonde.
Seymour Hoffman.
Thank you.
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman. The amount of evil that his character conjured in that role, and the amount of damage he did, and like just the depth that he made you hate him as an audience member. And then how does he die? Ethan like rolls him into traffic, gets hits by a car. I'm like, that's not satisfying. Like I wanted like Ethan Hunt to torture him like he was tortured. I want like a slow, painful, agonizing death with a lot of back and forth words. Like Mission Impossible 2, I thought had a great conclusion because they drew that out, that last fight scene with the bad guy, for like 10 minutes. It was awesome. And that's what I want. I want like build the tension, make me hate this guy, and then give me a satisfying conclusion to that evil character. If they would have just whisked him off or knocked him out or punched him, it would have been a Mission Impossible 3 scenario all over again. I like that you saw the turmoil. I like that you saw him break. I like that he passed out. All of a sudden, this facade of like this big, bad $35 million living in a mansion, does whatever he wants, is a jerk to people because he's got so much money. All of a sudden, that facade immediately fell off. The same guy that shot John at the beginning of the movie and had all the control now has zero control and is begging for his life. Yes, please, more of that, not less. That's great. And then the implied intelligence of these Russians hauling him, or the Ukrainians hauling him off to play with their toys in the junkyard. Yes, please, torture that man. He killed 2 people in the movie. The only person that shed blood in the movie was Steve. He killed John at the beginning, and then he killed the guy's cousin at the gold shop. Yeah, like give me the implied intelligence that they are going to make him suffer. That's great. And it's PG-13, so we can't see it, but at least let me imagine it. So yes, thank you for dragging that on. I like that part. As for the helicopter, Drew, the whole point of the helicopter blocking them and doing this, it wasn't to like, okay, now what? It was he can't get out. Like Mark Wahlberg is stuck there. And so Steve's waiting for all of his goons on motorcycles to catch up so they can swarm the car and take the gold. Like it's just to stall him out. And then he has to do the thing and he gets chopped by the side, like you said. And so it made for a cool little action sequence. But absolutely there was purpose for that. And then Chase, as for Steve being in the passenger seat of the helicopter, like, believe me, if I was a helicopter pilot and I'm getting paid, let's say like $120,000, let's say in 2003, I'm getting paid $80,000 a year. That's a healthy, comfortable salary. And some guy says, I will pay you double your annual salary. I'll pay you $160,000 if you just do exactly what I say. I'd be like, 2 years worth of like money, and I have to do just an afternoon's worth of work. Yeah, I'm going to do whatever that guy says. And he's like, I'm going to have you do some shady stuff. You might lose your helicopter license. I'm like, dude, for $160,000, I'll find a different job. That's fine. Like, I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that he could convince somebody with enough money to be the helicopter pilot and to have all those motorcycle thugs and to hire an armored car. Like, it probably costs him $600,000 or $700,000, which is a drop in the bucket to $37 million, right? No, that's not me, Star Wars fanboy, Justin. This is me justifying what I would, if I was Steve, I would have done the same thing. And it makes sense. There's no contradictions there. There's no stretch. There's no like unbelievability. You just gotta imagine, okay, if I was a helicopter pilot, what could this guy have told me to get me to do these things? And everybody has a price. as long as you're not dying, like that's where everybody's like, no, if I'm gonna die, like there's no amount of money, obviously.
What
It's
amount
just
of
that-
money would you have to get paid to have it all taken away and spend 10 years in jail? Because that's
160 grand. 160 grand in 2003.
for
No
10 years in jail for all the felonies that he committed.
No, because
loses his
also
pilot's
because,
license.
no, because Steve also said he'd bail me out. He'd pay my bail and get me out. So
And you had a gun, so it's gunpoint. So I was coerced.
yeah, exactly. I've got plausible deniability. Okay, then there was one more thing. What was the other? Sorry, and I'll pass the ball to Justin after this. But the one I watched it with my wife. She had never
Seth
seen the
Green's
movie.
crazy hacker skills.
No, I can't touch that. I'm with Drew on that one. He created his own program that was proprietary and nobody else had access to, and nobody's invented since or before. He just had it, and
It got stolen on a floppy disk.
Yeah,
he
like a
protected
force
that
kick.
one. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
a
yeah.
force kick. Yeah.
I mean, he created Napster. Of course, he can create, like he can hack into the grid. He's the best. He's the best. He created Napster. Need I remind you? But I watched the movie with my wife. It was the first time she'd ever seen the movie, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? This is going to be a blast!" Like everybody's seen Italian Job except my wife and her family because I don't know, they lived under a rock or whatever. This movie's great though, and I'm like, it's a good time, so we watched it. And her criticism was similar to Drew and Chase. You both mentioned there's a little bit of cheesiness, and I had to explain to her. She's like, you don't think that's cheesy? There were a couple times, the moments you guys mentioned, and she'd like look at me, or like the time when Jason Statham's character, when Handsome Rob was like, that's going to be a tight space to drive, and she's like, for you or whatever. Like Charlize Theron said that, and like everybody's like, oh, and Natalie, my wife, looks at me and she just like shakes her head, and I look at her and I just shake my head. I'm like, it's 2003. You got to realize, like people talk different. And you got to put your mind frame. And I can't believe I'm saying this about a movie in 2003 because it still seems like yesterday, but that's 23 years ago. And so I had to explain to my young, naive wife, I was just like, people talk different. Like when I watch, Star Wars, A New Hope, and Luke Skywalker says, but I was going to go down to the Tashi station for power converters. And everybody now makes fun of that. And I'm like, no, people like talk like that in the 70s. Like that, watch any movie in the 1970s. They all kind of had like that tinny, whiny tone to them, and it's just like you just got to realize people talk different in different generations. And so in the early 2000s, it was all about like quippy, quick-witted, like being smart, being like having one-liners. Like that was cool. And like when I watched it in the theater, I didn't think anything of it. But now I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, it's a little cheesy, but it wasn't then, so it shouldn't be now. So that's how I kind of justified it to my wife, and then ironically enough, she's laughing at all the parts, like when Handsome Rob goes and talks to the girl and Seth Green's like, what does he say to her? And he just does, does like that whole, like my wife was cracking up and I was too. Like, so the funny parts were still funny. It's just there are a couple cheesy lines and I had to explain those away. And so again, I don't think that diminishes from its perfection. You just got to get rid of your presentism and realize like, in that era they talk like that and it was cool and we just got to be okay with it.
And they were done right. Like they were done.
Yeah.
They were classy. It wasn't like so overboard that you roll your eyes back and you're like, that took me out of the movie. Like you said, that's how people talked. And so like there was no like women's revolution back then. It was like women had to prove themselves.
Right.
They weren't handed things back then like they are now. It's
Yeah.
like, so when she said that, like for you, it wasn't like I'm a woman, hear me roar thing. It was like a challenge. And and so like that was like the culture back then, is if a woman wants to do something a man does, like you have to challenge it, step up and do it. It's not going to be handed to you. And so like it hit,
Well, that when was Gone in 60 Seconds with Angelina Jolie?
1997.
Is that how old that movie is?
Yeah, I think
So I mean, it's still that era, but it wasn't like a lot of girls were racing back then in movies. Like, I guess in Fast and Furious,
sorry, 2000. It was 2000. Sorry,
2000. But isn't the first Fast and Furious the girlfriend was she racer? It was still like cutting edge to be a girl in racing. So
Right.
yeah, I give that a pass all day long.
and can I just say another thing I loved about this movie? Jason, Drew, are you guys frozen? Or are you just looking down? Oh, you're not frozen. Okay, good. Another thing I just loved about this movie was what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so this came out after was it the Born Identity? Did that come out in 2001 or 2002?
That's 2001.
2001.
Yeah.
Born Identity, and then Ocean's 11 was 2001.
2001.
Yeah. So okay, so I'd seen both those movies by the time I go into Italian Job, and something that shocked me in Italian Job that, like in hindsight, actually not in hindsight, in the moment, I really liked. I was in the theater, and twice this happened. Once, like Drew said, when they show up and the party's there, and so they're like, "We're not blowing any gates tonight. You got to get ready." And I was like, "Oh, that's a wrinkle." Like I've never, like in Ocean's 11, there were no wrinkles. Everything worked perfectly, and I liked it. Like Drew mentioned, I knew that you knew that I knew that but that was more Ocean's 12 and 13. They got there.
Yeah.
Ocean's 11 was tight. It was good. It was a good story, but everything worked perfectly. And again, I'm like in James Bond movies, that never happens. I was always expecting something wrong to happen, but it didn't, and it was still super entertaining. So I actually liked it. And then like the Born Identity happens, and same thing. Like he just like mows through people, and there's no real like alarming conflict. And so I think in my head I'm like, oh, this is a heist movie, so they're just gonna figure out a really smart way to steal the gold back. And then when the wrinkle happened in the theater, I was like, oh my gosh, that's like a big spoiler. Let's like when they all come out, she tips over the bottle and they all come out, and it's revealed to Steve that the Italian Job people are there. And I'm like, okay, so the whole plan goes into the garbage. I was like the rest of the crew the morning after, where they were like, oh, he's moving the gold, this is bad. And then I loved Mark Wahlberg's character, where he's like, you guys are looking at all this the wrong way. This is great. He's bringing the gold to us. And I thought that was so clever. What a cool twist, that not only is it throwing a wrinkle into the plans, which I wasn't expecting from a heist movie. I was expecting everything to go perfect and then get like a big reward at the end, like Ocean's 11 did. But this one, they had to throw their whole plans in the trash bin, and they had to reveal themselves. And so then they didn't have the element of surprise anymore. And so then it was really just a battle of wits. And that whole sequence, I mean, the whole like directing traffic and blasting the truck down into the base, the Mini Coopers. I mean, the whole thing was just so cool. Like that was a way better story than if their original plan had gone to plan, Like I love that there was a huge wrinkle. They were revealed. The element of surprise was spoiled. Steve was trying to move the gold now that he knew that they were back in town. Like it really ramped up, like it revved up the intensity of the movie in a way that I feel like most heist movies really struggle to do.
And to that point, I really like how they like you said, it made it a battle of wits. And so it was fun to see that play out, where they made the reveal, Mark Wahlberg comes out and Steve comes out, and like they have that dialogue where like, we knew this was going to happen. So here we are. And they both had the mentality of, all right, well, like now let's see who's the better heistman.
Well, a couple times Steve said in the final chase, he's like, where are you at, Charlie? What's your angle? Like he's like verbally like trying to figure him out, It was really cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. Really fun and unique for a heist genre movie.
Yeah. What about you, Justin? Any glaring flaws that we haven't touched on that you noticed?
First, I wanted to say why this film works is because you have a competent protagonist.
You Megamind?
You have a competent protagonist, and then you have his equal in mind, protagonist.
Sorry.
It made it high stakes from the very beginning when he turns on them, and I caught this. I didn't catch this because I haven't actually seen this movie in a long time. But when he's like, "You trust everyone, you just don't trust the devil inside him." He was talking to Steve. I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
And then for Steve to grab all the weapons he could and keep firing and firing and firing and firing and firing. Usually bad guys, I shot him in the stomach, I walked away. He's not dead. He came back for revenge. Like the movie treats you with respect when it comes to the bad guy. Like he is not an idiot. He thought about this. He pre-planned it. And so when they're going against him and he reveals that he found out the whole thing of her being his daughter, you actually feel like, oh my gosh. And when somebody finds out, he has no hesitation to kill them. I'm selling you gold. You know what? You know too much. Boom. So the stakes were high from like the very first scene. And what I really loved, I shared this meme, or it was a short video. You remember this? About you always fight at scene 1 because everything is going to get so much worse in scene 2. I mean, wherever they're taking you at gunpoint is going to be far worse for you and way harder to get out of. In almost all movies, you know, you get taken out and then you're relying on your bad guy to be benevolent and not take your limbs off and kill you as soon as they get their information.
Right.
So have Jason Statham just like, we got to get out of this situation now, also made it so much more intense to start this movie off. And so like the whole thing, a good bad guy makes your movie.
Yeah.
And I feel a little bit like Chase that the ending, if they just made it a little tighter, or just changed a little bit of, because I didn't feel I felt it was a little bit more campy. Maybe if Edward Norton had like changed a little bit more, instead of being nonchalant, like, oh, don't kill me. It was still feeling like he was weaseling his way out, but he wasn't really feeling like his life was in danger. If a tear was coming down and like, oh my gosh, I needed a little bit more for that ending. But I can understand why people would like it, and I understand why it did feel a little bit too long. For like, you are now in the hands of guys that's gonna love torturing you, and it didn't feel like his character was so great up until then. It did feel a little flat to me. If I'm being nitpicky,
it almost felt like a conflict in tone, because he's about to be pulled off and be tortured, and yet the music's upbeat and the team are like high-fiving each other. You know what I mean?
But it could also be that when you film these things, they film that like day 1 or week 1 before you even find your character.
Yeah.
And then the other scenes.
That's really
so
good.
It could be that, you know, or reshoot or something like that.
I
so
think
high stakes.
Yeah, go ahead.
There was a typical boat chase in the beginning that I'm like, okay, we've seen this in every James Bond and every boat. It didn't feel like anything new. Like somebody lands on another boat. So there were some of those tropes I really liked, because it was also really smart that they dropped the safe in the beginning, and then they had them chasing around, and you didn't realize that it was there the whole time. It was like that kind of direction the whole time, where I love movies where it's A to B, but the result is almost always C. It's something you're not thinking of, but when you see it, you're like, oh yeah, that was brilliant. And there was a lot of that in this movie. Whereas, like you're saying, Ocean's maybe 12 and 13, it's more like A, B, C, D, and nothing can go wrong because it's such a tight. And so there was a little bit of that when they literally numbered the cars on the top of the roof where nobody can see. I guess you do it for helicopters. So it was a little bit for audience. I can, like, really, they are numbered for you. You didn't have a program to say this is A, B, and C. But so
no,
I can
like even cop cars and buses, right? They all have numbers on top.
Yeah. But on top, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I'll give it to him.
Nice.
It just felt a little on the nose, but I still enjoyed it, especially as a movie following where you're going. I really liked the tires. Okay, it's 128. Okay, you're following that one, and then they had already set up that they could hack into the lights to go where they wanted. So even though it didn't work out, the main character told you from the very beginning he's creative and he improvises really well. So just to give him a situation at the very end where he has to use his brain, and then the bad guy has no imagination and it's used against him. Like, he didn't buy anything of his own. He just used their, things. And then I want to make one more plug. Of all the four, who has not taken that book laden house, versus all the other ones? Like maybe the girl at the end, but the house, the guy with the books. He gets it at the end.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do with the
Oh, you're saying
$7 million.
who wouldn't take that? Like, why
Who
would
wouldn't take that?
Everybody's
The-
list. Oh, yeah, sure.
the book.
Yeah, because that was definitely the
trope
most
is-
luxurious
Yeah.
of them, but goes to show how far, $4 million each goes. Is they're like, I can buy a car. I can buy,
I
Uh,
got
what-
to mention. Oh, sorry.
I
I'm
was
eating
going
steak
backwards,
for the
but-
first time in 4 years.
Yeah.
yeah.
I've got to mention too just how fun this movie is, because there are moments of like high intensity, obviously, violence, like dark, serious themes, but just the way that who directed this movie, I don't even know. The way they sprinkled in just lightheartedness is like when Charlize Theron's character originally declines Charlie, but then she calls him back, and he's playing basketball with Handsome Rob, and like they're joking with each other, and he's like, "You ready? You're not ready." Like little moments like that make the movie so fun. There was another moment that I felt Natalie giggle next to me as we were watching, and it's after like Natalie was my wife was literally saying go 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 when she had to open the safe underground by ear. Like it was super intense, high intensity, and they're sliding the gold down, and I love when Seth Green is like 2.7 million, and Charlie's like, what? And he's like, wait, 27 million. Like that was a cool, like fun little moment. And then like when they're zipping away, my wife was like, go, 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 go. Like she's getting antsy watching it. She's so emotional outwardly. It's so funny to watch movies with her. But she's super like high strung and intense and like, let's go, go, go. Like she's stressed out, anxiety. But then when they burst out of the tube and Charlize Theron's character, like she just starts laughing. I thought that was just like the perfect moment because you get like lighthearted, serious, and like super intense, but then lighthearted again. Like the way they sprinkled it in, like you're having a good time with these characters, and they made sure that the characters were like likable people. Like even Charlize Theron, who I think nowadays in 2026 is one of the most unlikable individuals outside of acting. We don't have to get into all that, but watching like her younger self, like 23 years ago, like the way that she played that role in that character was just a good time. It was just fun. She didn't take herself too seriously. She's laughing, she's smiling, she's throwing out those snide like challenges to Handsome Rob, and like there's always a wink and a nod. I don't know. I thought that they had a lot of fun making it. I don't know how much of it was ad-libbed, but I just thought that adds to the movie in a way that a lot of people might not realize. It's like almost a subconscious, like, I'm having a good time and I don't know why. Well, I'll tell you why. It's because Mark Wahlberg is joking with Jason Statham. It's because Charlize Theron decided to do a woo and laugh as she launches her car out of a tube. Like it's just little moments like that are super fun. And I think that really adds to a movie's perfection, in my opinion.
I agree. And that's like little things that you don't really notice as an audience member, but it has an effect on you.
Yeah, do you guys remember the story about Back to the Future, how they started filming with a different Marty McFly? I forget the actor's name. But they had to cut him because they're just like, you're not a good time. Essentially, I'm summing up.
Yeah, there wasn't a chemistry.
Yeah, the chemistry. Yeah. He was taking the role too serious. And then they got Marty Parkinson.
Michael J. Fox.
Thank you, Michael J. Fox. They got Michael J. Fox, and he adds like this boyish charm and this humor and this like spazziness, and they're like, yes, that's what we need out of Marty McFly. And so there's this weird thing where there's almost like character traits that can't be articulated in order to make a movie the tone that you want. And I feel like with Italian Job, they nailed the tone with the characters and with the actors, and they all kind of knew the message they were trying to send, and they delivered.
I would say the beginning of this movie, though, Seth Green, because he had been in other roles, it did take me out of the movie. But about a third of the way in, it was like, oh yeah, never mind. I'm good with it.
Well, do you know what I have to say to that critique? How about no? How about no? Anybody get that reference? No? Is that? No? No, but because when I went into Italian Job, I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, that's Dr. Evil's son. I didn't really know him from much. I didn't really watch, Robot Chicken or anything.
You're gonna squirt some Scott?
Yeah.
He was also a main character. He was also a main character in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Stacey's rewatching it, and so seeing Seth Green, I think he comes in like season. Huh?
Whatever happened to Seth Green? I haven't seen him in 15
He saw
years.
Robot Chicken.
Remember
He's
Rat Race? Is it Rat Race?
Yeah.
Oh
But
yeah,
he's made-
Rat Race was
Was he-
phenomenal. Yeah, he was one of the brothers.
that's right. Yeah. he
Yeah.
was-
And he's made so much money. He's made so much money off Family Guy. He doesn't need to do anything else.
Oh, Family Guy. That's right. And also,
Family-
yeah, he also did like he's one of the producers of Robot Chicken or something. Like he does
Mhm.
behind the scenes work on television. I know, but I kind of
He's
miss
in
it.
Star Wars too, Clone Wars and Rebels,
Oh, was he?
playing parts and voices.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I think he's very talented. He's fun to watch, but I just wish he was in more stuff.
And again, his jokes. I was like, oh yeah, he was the funny guy in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
Before there was a lot of funny guys, sidekicks. You know,
yeah. All right. Well, we're coming up on time, so should we cast our votes, or is there anything else you guys would like to say?
Mm.
Good, Chase.
What was the wow factor for you? I mean, just like the whole movie, but like what really put this over the top?
I think it was. I'm glad you asked because I know I made a big deal about the wow factor being a part of my perfection, being me personally. But I think, yeah, if I cast my mind back to watching it in theaters as a young teenager, I think that part that I told you guys about where like everything goes wrong all of a sudden, that wowed me. I was like, oh, what are they going to do now? Like I was literally concerned about the quality of the movie. I'm like, no, the plan they had was good. I wanted to watch that play out, and now they can't. And that really concerned me. And then the movie freaking delivers in that third act, just delivers. And I had like, obviously I was entertained on the edge of my seat, eyes like glued to the screen, seeing it for the first time. And yeah, I remember walking out and I'm like, more heist movies should have things go wrong because that was great. So yeah, I think that was probably the wow factor for me because I wasn't expecting it, and boy, did it deliver.
All right,
agree.
Drew and Chase, I want to hear from you because I'm at 8.5. So get me over the top.
I'll get him 0.5 higher. Let's go, boys.
I just think, I mean, the wow factor, I feel like the wow factor was intentional. And so I don't think there's going to be a difference in wow factor because they like, that's what it was, that what it was meant to be. But I think just going back and re-looking at it, anything that you have qualms with are easily write-offable.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything in here that it's like, this just was so bad. Like, I just couldn't get over it. This makes it not perfect for me. Can't do it. I think all of them are like the movie in itself was so rounded out. It was rounded out so well that it really insulated and protected itself from harsh critiques. Again,
What about-
there are things that you can critique about it, but
What about the CG glass at the end when the helicopter hits him and then you have the CG glass coming
Yeah.
through?
It
Doesn't that
holds
take
up.
you out of the movie?
no, it holds up. It holds up.
There's a lot of stuff in real life where I'm like, oh, that looks like CG. Like Lake Powell at sunset. When you look at the water, I'm like, oh, that looks like a computer generated image. That doesn't look good. So, I mean, it could happen, Justin. You know, the glass could actually look like that.
I want to also make a plug for, don't you just love movies in the 2000s when they were actually doing real stunts
Okay.
and real boats, real cars coming
Yeah.
down the ramps? They're
was breath of
doing the
fresh air.
stunts in that warehouse, and then like the back bumper. It's like you saw that hit the ground,
Yes.
break off.
Yes. I do have one more thing I want to say. Thanks for reminding me. And that is the quality of movies 20 years ago. I heard somebody on a podcast I was listening to yesterday, and one of the co-hosts on the podcast said something like, you know what the problem with movies is today? Is they're made by Gen Z producers and directors that didn't grow up reading books. Whereas 20 years ago, people who were making movies were like, they came from a generation of book readers, of like novels, of sci-fi, of like the golden era of Ivan whatever, who wrote the Foundation series and the
Isaac Asimov.
Yeah. And so like those were the people making movies when we were kids and when we were teenagers, but now they've retired and the new guard is, and the way he described it was perfect. He's like, it's like when we watch movies, like modern day movies now, it's almost like being on a playground at recess and just listening to like 8-year-olds tell a story. and then what if we do this? And then what if we do this? And then what if we do this? And it's like, you don't understand the art of storytelling. You don't understand the components, the structure, the hero's journey, the 3-act, a conclusion, the climax, like a hook. Like, they just don't understand basic elemental storytelling components. And so you just get this weird like string of events that happen, and you don't know why you feel empty inside afterwards. And I just thought that was a really good explanation. He's like, movies used to be made by like book readers, but now it's made by, I don't know, politically agenda motivated weirdos that haven't read a book in their life and don't know how to tell a story. And it's just,
and they don't have to be creative within themselves. Like, just on that point, like when you're reading a book, if reading a script or a book, like they were actively thinking, how could I do this? Oh, that's just not doable. Okay, we have to change the story a little bit here in order for this to happen.
right.
And the audience had problems with that, but it was for practical effects. And now it's easy. It's easy. You throw it into ChatGPT and you're like, hey, make a dragon eat this guy, and it spits it out. And they're like, good enough. And then they move on to the next scene. They don't have to problem solve within themselves on how to make it look good, because we just rely so heavily on CGI. And
yeah, we rely so heavily on CGI, on the actors that you hire, on the budget of the studios, of studio interference, and of just directors that are yes men, that don't take chances. That we don't get any
right.
We don't get any not David Lynch. Come on, what's his name?
David Fincher.
Thank you, David Fincher. We don't get any David Finchers that like have actual battles with studios over creative control, because he knows what he wants. And like, I feel like, especially at Disney, everybody just folds, man. There is no pushback. There's no sixth man. There's no devil's advocate. Everybody's just like, oh, here's the script. Great. We got this budget, infinite amounts of money. Put it through.
The last one was Colin Trevorrow. Remember his Duel of the Fates episode 9? And like, he fought the studio, and then they just basically kicked him out, and then hired J.J. Abrams again.
Oh, I didn't hear about that. Hear about that.
He had a whole script. He was like, this is where the direction we're going. They had Rey wearing all black with a double-bladed blue lightsaber.
Whoa.
Have you not heard this?
No.
Yeah. Like, they have the whole script that was leaked, and they were basically, or somebody at Disney was like, this is what could have been.
No way.
I really feel like,
yeah, it was going to be something along the lines of the Knights of Ren were chasing her down. And so, right. So like Kylo's on this like revenge mission. And yeah, like I just saw something, what was it, yesterday, 2 days ago, Justin, on that, on this untold story where it could have been awesome.
And I know this is devolving, but just I got to plug this in. If Rey had taken Kylo's hand, we would not be complaining right now about Star Wars. If she had turned to the dark side, and Luke would have to get off his ass and go save her and him with R2 and maybe even 3PO, we would have had a way different episode 9. You just had to take the hand and go to the dark side.
Anyway, I think you've been meaning to say episode 7, right?
No, 9.
So
9?
8, and then episode 9 would have been Duel
Luke
of Fates.
Skywalker was dead in episode 9. How could he have gotten off of his ass to protect? Am I getting my numbers wrong?
No, because
7, 8, 9.
Because they changed episode 8. Yes, because he had to force project, and then he just died by using the force, which has never happened before. Except for
that's what confused me.
Rian Johnson said so.
If Rey takes his hand in episode 9, then there's no Luke to save anybody.
My point is, they didn't have to kill off Luke Skywalker.
Agreed. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. If she took his hand, and then Luke had to go and get her.
Italian job, guys.
I see. Yeah. Sorry. No,
Italian job.
I actually was just reminded. We do one conversation I do want to have when Justin and Alan are there is what I call the rewritables episode, where we just rewrite the Star Wars sequel trilogy, because I've got so many good ideas, and I know you do too. Like, that was a great idea. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we'll table that for another time.
Yeah.
But one final thing that I'll say, and then we cast our votes, is that just on the creativity of creating movies, is the story of Good Will Hunting was like famously, as far as I understand it, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon put together a script, and it wasn't anything like the movie that we eventually got, because it went through iteration after iteration, and they worked on it, and they like slept on it, woke up and changed this thing here and changed this thing there, and they by the time that they submitted that script to the studio that bought it, they were working with like a fine-tuned scalp. Like everything had been rewritten and rephrased and get your eyes on this. And I want to see what your editor has to say about this. Like they wanted feedback and they like dialed it in. Apparently the first script was more like The Accountant, which Ben Affleck went on to make eventually anyway. There was a lot more action. It was like an action movie, but it turned into like an emotional, intelligent drama instead, because of all the iterations and because of the feedback loops and because people who were creative and wanted to succeed got their hands and eyes on it. And I feel like they don't do that anymore. And so we get just this slop. Like it's all about quantity, not quality anymore. It just bugs the crap out of me. Anyway, I vote perfection on this one. I had a great time. I'll watch it for the rest of my life. This movie's great. I can't wait to show my kids this movie. It's going to be so much fun. So that's my vote. Chase?
So I've been kind of hanging on the edge because like it's a good movie, but I've been struggling to figure out if I think it's a perfect movie.
Kind of like First Night.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's kind of like really good, but is it perfect?
Yeah. And so here's where I cast my vote is I think it's perfect, and I think it's perfect because of the chemistry between the cast. I think if you didn't have that chemistry of the band, where like contrasted with Mission Impossible, where you have very clearly Tom Cruise and everybody else, or Ocean's series where everybody is trying to be the top dog, because you have George Clooney and Brad. You have all these larger than life actors who are all trying to like outdick the other person. This one worked because they were all like
They stayed in their lane.
compatible with each other. Yeah, they stayed in their lane and they synced. They meshed really, really well together. And I think or the Fast and Furious movies, right? Like you don't have that same type of chemistry. You got family or whatever. But I think the Italian Job did its job perfectly of showing what a good heist with the right people all doing their job and nobody like overstepping. You got a little bit of pushback where people would like ask questions. Why are you doing it this way? Or when they're installing the detonator and he's like, what's going on? Like, why aren't you doing? He goes, dude, if it touches the brass, we're going to be the last ones we ever see. He goes, okay, take your time. Like, right. So you had a little bit of pushback, but not people stepping all over each other. So anyways, so for me, I think it's perfect because I think it nailed that chemistry aspect.
And before Justin goes to give his vote, something that I've been doing recently is I imagine seeing, for this one, Italian Job on the perfect movie list in Plex. And I think to myself, if I was sitting with a random person and they were like, Italian Job? I haven't seen that. Would I not only be excited to watch the movie with them, but also be able to defend it in a perfect movie category? And I think that just on a bare basics of those two criteria, I think it hits both of them. If somebody hadn't seen it, I'd be like, you haven't seen Italian Job? This is a great movie. Like, we should watch it. And then if they had any qualms afterwards, like we do in all of these podcasts, like it's easy. It would be an easy night of defending it with anything that they had where it's like, oh, that was cheesy. And then you'd be like, no, it wasn't. That wasn't cheesy. And like, it was really classy. That was really like that was done really well. And you could go down the list of everything that we said. And so obviously, needless to say, my vote is also perfect. Justin, what say ye?
The reason why this is a perfect movie is something you guys weren't expecting. And I wasn't, and I have it. This movie is a perfect movie because they didn't have to make a sequel of this movie and throw the franchise in the ground, because they made a stupider and worser. Because they didn't make a sequel and it stands on its own 2 feet, they didn't have to make a sequel. Puts it over the top for me. It is a perfect movie.
Beautiful. Enough said.
All right. Awesome. Well, we've
Because
got
we're the four who made it. Our votes count for double, and I think it puts it over the edge.
that's right. That's right. Well, it puts it over the edge. Chase, cue it up. Put it in the list. Perfect movies.
Done.
Next movie. As a matter of fact, I'll let Justin introduce the next nomination for 2 weeks from now. Go ahead, Justin.
Okay, this one has actually been on my short list for a long time. And remember when I would tell you, is it 2015 or 2016? Choose one. This was the 2015. I believe it's 2015. If not, it's the 2016. Mad Max Fury Road. I think it might be a slam dunk, but I kind of need one at this point. Since my tastes are so far below you. When I first saw this movie, I'm like, how is this? Everybody's like saying this is so good. I'm like, it's just desert, you know, and it's weird guy in plastic, you know. But as you watch this movie and the stakes are raised, and it's Charlize Theron, maybe at the cusp of her turning to whatever she is now. Maybe it just went to her head. She was in that desert too long.
Quite literally, she busted her head. It was a tragedy.
So, and she shaved her head. Oh man.
Didn't I? What did I say?
Bumped her head. You said.
Oh, I said buzzed. I thought I said buzzed.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you said bumped. Anyway.
No.
So that's what I'll be defending, and I think we'll have another unanimous. Hopefully.
We'll see. I'm gonna give it a rewatch, and I'm gonna be way hard.
Be harsh.
Way
And I have not seen Fury Road. Sorry, Furiosa. So I don't have that. I'm not sure if I'm gonna rewatch that before we do that, because I don't want to, you know, like I want to keep it pure before I watch that one.
Yeah.
You know what's fun is last week I played a board game with some of my board game friends, and it was a game based on the vibes of Fury Road. It was so much fun, and the entire time, like the guy who was hosting, he put on the Mad Max Fury Road soundtrack for us to play with. Anyways, it was just so delightful. But yeah, you had little cars, you're crashing into each other, trying not to die as you're racing along this gauntlet. Anyways, yeah, and I'll have plenty to say about the other Mad Maxes
As well.
yeah, well, and how they tie in and everything. So
Okay. So then, really fast, should I just watch Furiosa then to have a more context?
no, I was talking about like Mad Max 2, Mad Max Thunderdome.
The first three.
Yeah.
With Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
And then this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've seen all those, and then I watched Fury Road, and I went, "This is the same director."
I haven't seen those the prequels, and so we've got 2 weeks before our next discussion, and so I'm gonna set that as my goal. I'm gonna watch the original Mad Maxes leading up to Mad Max Fury Road, because we'll see. I'm excited to talk about it though. So let's just plan on that. 2 weeks from now, we will reconvene, and until then, enjoy your movies, boys.
So you're saying there's a chance? All right, I read you.
All right.
See you later, boys.
Till next time.